Linda, I'll let you take it away here.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to hand it over to Wayne Namey right away to make a few opening remarks. And after that, I'll introduce Barbara.
Wayne, you'll have to unmute yourself. Wayne, you are still muted. There we go.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the August meeting, Oak Run Democratic Club. I want to welcome any new members and emphasize the importance of our Democratic Club here in Oak Run with all the turmoil in the country and here in Marion County. As you hear on the news, we are in the most Republican-filled county in Florida, and maybe part of most of the country, from the sheriff's office to the Ocala mayor. And we, as Democrats, can do our little part. And I want to congratulate the Oak Run Democratic Club at the Biden sign rally last week on the Ocala Square, put on by the Young Democrats of Marion County. We had the most representation. We had 7 members on the square in Ocala. So Oak Run Democratic Club was recognized as being, of course, the most members there and the most vocal, especially our own Linda Shitwood. Do any of the new visitors or any of our new members would like to introduce themselves tonight?
You will have to unmute yourself.
Please raise your hand so Gary can. Okay, if not, also I wanted to make mention and thank Gary Green for setting this Zoom meeting up. We are one of the fortunate Democratic clubs in Marion County. As far as Marion County Democrats are concerned, besides them, I think we might be the only group, actual neighborhood group that is actually meeting through Zoom meetings right now. So we can give ourselves a pat on the back and especially a high five to Gary for doing this and for being committed to making a change here in Marion County. At this time, if no other new members would like to introduce themselves, I would like to turn it over to our Vice President, Linda Chitwood, to introduce our speaker. Thank you.
Thanks, Wayne. Okay, everybody, we're very lucky to have Barbara Byram with us tonight. She's running for the District 22 of the Florida House of Representatives, and you go, Barbara. We're so happy that you are running. The more Democratic candidates we can get to run, the better, more visibility we have, and the better chance of winning other offices. Barbara is a seasonal employee at the National Park Service, and she's a 14-year resident of Levy County and a first-time candidate. Brave woman, I think. So we are so pleased. Oh, and just to make sure everybody knows, and you probably already know, that District 22 encompasses Ocala and other parts of Marion County. So we're definitely in that district. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Barbara Byram. Let's give her a big hand, everybody. Okay, Barbara.
Thank you. I'm running for Florida House District 22. My name is Barbara Byram. I'm 64 years old, and I've been politically active for 50 years. It all started when my brother and I attended high school together in Chicago, and he took a public stance against the Nixon administration. He started wearing a protest symbol to school, and the trouble began for both of us. Teachers threatened to quit, and some began harassing me. The media picked up on the story, and hate mail flooded our doorstep. Some was directed at me, even though I was not involved. Radio and TV programs started phoning for interviews, but my parents pushed my brother to decline. My brother thought it was because my parents disagreed with his stance, but Dad said, "I don't have to agree with your viewpoint to agree that the Constitution guarantees your right to free speech." Those words affected me profoundly. In the 1960s and 70s, let me start over there. The 1960s and 70s were times of mass protest and sweeping social change all around the world. And it was a time when I came of age. Political activism suited me, an otherwise shy person. If I didn't agree with something, I could speak out about it. And I still do today, whether it's restoration of the US Postal Service, our failure in delivering health care, the defunding of public education, the disenfranchisement of more than 1 million voters in Florida, or the imposition on us of toll roads that we neither need nor want, I speak out. As co-founder of Citizens for an Engaged Electorate, I have educated the public locally on these and many more issues for the past 9 years. Part of that education includes giving people the resources they need to contact elected officials on all levels and encouraging them to make their voices heard. Both of the Republicans in Tuesday's primary talk about government in terms of size, as if that's a measure of goodness. But size doesn't matter if our legislature doesn't practice good governance. The issue I've worked on longest is making government responsive to the people, not just to corporations and the wealthy. I'm a patriot. I believe deeply in the words of our Declaration of Independence, that we are all equally endowed with the same rights and that those rights are secured to us by a government operating with our consent. But our state legislature is not operating with our consent unless you believe that the single vote we cast once every 2 years is the same as giving consent for every piece of legislation voted on. The legislative session is so compressed that we can't know what's being voted on. We deserve to hear from our legislators, and we deserve time to read and weigh in on legislation before it's voted on. That's why I'm running for office. I'm Barbara Byram. Please vote for me in November. Thank you.
Okay, I got it. Had a little trouble getting unmuted there. Barbara, thank you. I wanted to have anybody who had any questions for Barbara to raise your hand and unmute yourself and then ask the questions. Do we have questions from anybody?
Barbara, thank you. Thank you for your message and your dedication to serve the good people here in Ocala. How can we help you? Where do you need some help? And I am a firm believer in stopping the privatization of the U.S. Postal Service. And we had very much success doing signs with a Biden rally at the Ocala Square. I've been thinking about making signs for saving and to fund the U.S. Postal Service in front of our post office across the street. And how would you like to join some people in doing that?
I would love to join people, but I am up in Michigan this summer. I work for the National Park Service and this is season. So I'm not able to join you personally, but I can certainly send some of my supporters down in campaign t-shirts to help you out.
That would be wonderful. Barbara, we are, I'm going to be speaking to the board and the members of Oak Run Democratic Club about doing a Biden rally in October. So we would love to have you or any of your supporters join us. And there is a small United States Postal Service at the location where we're going to throw around to do the Biden rally. So that would work out well. Thank you.
Okay, I think I saw Jim's hand. Jim.
Hey, Barbara, Jim Carroll. It's been a while since we saw each other, but I first met Barbara about 19 years ago when the Move On movement began, and was with her in a meeting in Levy County and some other folks. And out of that grew another organization called Citizens Engaged for an Engaged Electorate. And Barbara's been very active with that as a leader. And she has been a leader in Levy County for many years, working on political issues, both local and state and national. So she has my vote, and hopefully we'll find ways to support her as we go along.
Thank you, Jim. It's good to see you again.
Same.
Linda Jitwood, you'll have to unmute yourself.
So
Go ahead, Barbara.
I just wanted to back up a little bit. I was given a tentative end date here up at the National Park. I should be home by the last day in September. So I will be available through the month of October for campaigning locally, in person.
Great.
Okay.
I have two things I wanted to ask you, Barbara. I'll ask you, the first one is, can you tell us a little bit about what you know about making sure that all the students around the nation would have internet access, or have you been concentrating specifically on Florida and increasing internet access to rural areas in Florida for all the students? How bad is it for our rural students here in Florida?
It's actually a little better now than it was pre-coronavirus, but it's still not very good. Pre-coronavirus in our district was about 21% of students without any internet connection. And it's down now to maybe 17 or 18%. This is an issue I've been working on nationally, because I believe that the only way to get our nation up to speed in terms of connectivity is through a federal program like the electrification program of the US rural areas in the 60s. We need that for a internet program at this point. I do want to say something about the internet connectivity, and that is with regard to the toll roads. That bill was passed by the addition of an amendment adding $5 million to the budget to bring broadband to a corridor around the toll roads. But that doesn't get anywhere near the number of people in our district that need it. 5 million is a drop in the bucket. So we do need better connectivity on the state level. We have to find a way to do that. I think currently we need to find some kind of public-private partnership that can get our students, both online and with reliable computers soon. In the meantime, we need to keep pressing the federal government for a nationwide program.
Well, that was good, Barbara. I'm going to hold my other question till later. I see Jim raising his hand again, Jim Carroll.
Barbara, could you tell us a little bit about your opponent? I'm not familiar with him, and maybe you could fill us in on his pluses and minuses, so to speak.
Okay, so until Tuesday night or Wednesday, whenever we get the results, I actually have two opponents running for the Republican nomination. One is Joe Harding. He's a youngish man from the city of Williston in Levy County, father of 4. He's a 7th generation Floridian. And he's facing off against Russ Randall out of Dunellen. Russ is approximately 70. He's been living in the area for about 40 years, and he has been very active in the Baptist church there. Both of them are running on basically the same platform. I can share with you the recording from the Dunellen Chamber and Business Association forum from last week. She did interview all three of us. Unfortunately, when the Levy County forum was recorded, neither of them showed up. So I'm the only one who spoke on that forum for this seat. But both of them are running on a platform of pro-Second Amendment, anti-abortion, and reduce the size of government. That's it. So whoever I face off against, that's what I'm running against. They're both very conservative Republicans.
I see Liz Bennett has a question for you. Liz, you'll have to unmute yourself.
Okay, can you hear me?
We do.
Okay, I was wondering about the status of voting in November. Should we encourage mail-in votings, or the Democratic Party has come out and said it might be better to vote in person in November? Which is the better way to go?
That's a difficult call to make right at this moment. My personal preference would be for mail-in voting, but that's because I live with somebody who's at very high risk for dying from COVID-19. So I don't want to have to vote in person. The problem with vote by mail is the new Postmaster General was a hand-picked Trump supporter, handpicked by Trump, and he has been messing with our postal system. And right now, our post office has had sorting equipment removed from their premises. He's stopped all overtime, and he's set deadlines for when the trays of mail can leave facilities. So our mail has recently slowed down exponentially. And this is going to have an effect on the ballots being returned Tuesday for Tuesday's election. I do know that the House Democrats introduced a bill demanding that the Postal Service do their job for the elections. I don't know where that is at this point. The House recessed and the Senate is recessed until September.
I want to, Liz, if it's okay, and Barbara, follow up on this, because this issue came up today in my house, and my very astute husband went to the Constitution of the United States and pointed out to me the Article 8, and then I forgot which subsection, that gives the Congress of the United States the responsibility to ensure that the Postal Service is funded and operates in a timely manner. Now, I'm paraphrasing. I can't remember the actual quote. I urge you to, when you get a chance, just go look up how does the Constitution handle the post office, and you'll find that, and you can read it for yourself. That made me feel I was about to have a meltdown, and so Hal looked it up because I'm very.
I will have to.
I'm sorry.
I will have to look that up. I know that the Constitution gives Congress the power to establish a postal service.
Yes, and there's more words than that, which are
okay. So I will have to read that.
It addresses the actual functioning of the. Now, I don't know. Recently, I'm going to share a little bit of frustration. We're all friends here. Recently, I've been very concerned about the seeming lack of power of the other branch, the major branches of government over the executive. But Hal keeps reminding, he's absent, but I'll speak for him. He keeps reminding me there are many lawsuits being filed. And many times when Trump wants to do something and he just wants to unilaterally, as the executive, do it, somebody files a lawsuit and he's stopped from doing it. So that's my comfort. I need to make an announcement now since this came up, Barbara. So this is the good news. It's still early voting in here in Marion County. and it doesn't end until 6 p.m. on Saturday the 15th, this coming Saturday. And if you have a vote by mail ballot that you have not mailed yet, don't mail it. Take it to any early voting place and put it in the lockbox that they have. Okay, if you still have a mail-in ballot, you don't mail it now because it might not get there. You can take it to your regular polling place on the day of the election, which is August the 18th, Tuesday. You carry it into the polling place, you hand it to a polling worker, they will take care of it, and you go to the regular machine or whatever the voting booths look like and place your vote regularly. The ballot that you hand carried into your regular polling place on voting day will become ineffective and won't cause any trouble at all. It'll just go away. Okay. The other option you have is to go down to the supervisor of elections office and put your ballot right into their drop box, but before 7 p.m. on the night of the election. And everything I've just said to you applies to the November 3rd election also. But here's the coolest part. I talked to Lavonda McCandless today, who's the chairperson of the Marion County DEC, and they have been allowed and are approved to receive ballots down at the Marion County Democratic headquarters. And what I did before the meeting started is I sent everybody who's a member of our club out an email with all the contact information and the opening hours. They're only open on Wednesdays and Thursdays now. So you can't take your ballot there before this coming Tuesday. But for the November election, if all else fails, and you'd rather just take it down to the Democratic headquarters in Marion County, you can take your ballot there. And I'm being real specific about this because I want you to be able to share this information with your friends. And if there's any confusion about any of this, just call the Marion County I was on the phone with the Marion County Supervisor of Elections office today, making sure that I had this straight because Jim Carroll pointed out to me that there might have been a misstatement made at our last meeting. And if there was, this is the correction. So Liz Bennett, did you want to make any more comments about voting by mail? Did that answer your question better, do you think? Or
Well, it's more or less what I thought there. I thought perhaps Barbara had some better information, but we'll simply have to wait and see. But I think we have to just make sure that everybody understands the options available.
well, I think some people, there are many telephone calls being made and postcards being mailed. And Jim Carroll, I'm going to ask you in a minute too. Have you guys been sending out any postcards with vote by mail clarifications on them? Would you like to answer that, Jim Carroll, please?
No, I have a card right here. Let me see. No, it doesn't really give the details other than call your supervisor of elections at such and such a number or go online. So it does have plenty of information as how to get more information. So
Okay. Well, the calls that are being made right now, so far there's been around, 34,000 calls made. We are making it clear in the calls how people should handle their vote by mail ballots. And so my personal opinion, this is not anything official from anybody in the Democratic Party, is that you get that ballot in your hands, you fill it out, and you take it to an early drop box, or you take it directly to the supervisor of elections, or that's what you should do. I would not. Now this is just me. I wouldn't really trust unless they're gonna, the ballots for the November election are gonna be mailed out on September 24th. Now, one would think you would have it in your hands by the 26th or 27th, depending on when Saturday and Sunday are. And if you get it in your hands that early, you possibly could chance filling it out and sticking it in the mail. But I think I'd rather get it in a box. Okay, now I see Carol Lee's hand up.
I just want to mention that I'm a member of the Ocala Star Banner Readers Forum, and after hearing all of this information, and I had the same kind of questions, I'm going to email Jim Ross just to tell him I'm hoping that the Star Banner puts all of this information before the November election ballot, just so that readers will know what to do, because there's so many options other than just putting it in your mailbox.
Okay, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Okay, Jim?
Was it South Marion paper had a very large ad from the Marion DEC in it on vote by mail, which was pretty good information.
I'll add one really quick comment, and that is that the sheriff's station, at least the one out here on Highway 200, is a early voting place, but they're not wearing masks there, I'm betting.
Yeah, I haven't gotten around to that today, but I plan to write a letter of protest about this, and I just haven't gotten around to it.
Freedom Library is the alternative.
Oh, which one?
Freedom Library is an early voting place.
Okay, Linda Green, did you have a question or a comment? No, okay. Barbara, I have another question for you. Let me see where it is. Well, I was going to ask you, and I hope this is not too silly a question, but what do you think your greatest obstacle is to achieving the goal of getting elected?
Oh, goodness. Well, my greatest obstacle is probably making sure that my message is heard in the right way by the people who consider themselves to be conservative and Republican leaning. We share an awful lot of values. For example, polls that have been done on rural Americans, 97% agree that their government doesn't represent them, but represents the corporations and the wealthy. Now, it's 97% of all voters. That's not, I'm having connectivity problems again here.
We hear you.
That's 97% of all voters, not just Democrats. Okay, great. The other thing is rural Americans, 87% agree that helping neighbors is an important part of life in rural America. And that's all voters, again, that's not just Republicans or Democrats. So making sure I get my message out to the people who don't consider themselves Democrats is going to be my biggest challenge.
Okay, there we go. And then, do you mind commenting a little bit about, I know that you would like to get more support from the state of Florida for our public health systems. Could you comment a little bit on that for us?
Okay, so I'll preface it all by saying I am radical on this issue. I believe in Medicare for all, and I have been a proponent of single payer healthcare for decades. Of course, that is a federal issue. On the state level, we currently have 25% of Floridians who are no longer have health insurance because of losing their jobs during the pandemic. Close to half of those people will not be getting their jobs back because the businesses are going under. Having healthcare delivered through an employer-based system is ineffective. And what we need to do here in Florida as a stopgap is to increase Medicaid coverage so that all of the uninsured have access to quality health care. If we don't give people access, they won't go to doctors because they can't afford it. Their health problems will just mount until the point where it's an emergency and they have to go in and everybody else ends up paying the cost. So yeah, we have to expand Medicaid here. That's an immediate need.
I couldn't agree with you more. Thank you for that comment on that. I just have one other question, then I'm going to let other people speak. Do you know anybody in the current legislature in Tallahassee?
I do not. I do know the lobbyist for the Sierra Club.
Okay. I just was curious if you knew. I admire you so much for your courage for doing this, and I surely hope you win. And I'm just so happy you're with us tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and ask anybody else who has any other questions for Barbara. And if we do not have any more questions, then I think we'll just move on to, we're going to have a little, we have a little business things, formalities we have to take care of before we, okay, Gary, you have a question?
Barbara, is your campaign providing signs? Can we get some signs out along the highway for you?
You will be able to do that along about early September.
All right.
I know that sounds like it's a little late, but folks in August really aren't ready to start looking at yard signs. I don't want them out too soon so that when the time comes for them to look, they're so inured to seeing them, they pass them right by.
Very
So
good.
September is
let us know so we can get some of those out for you.
great. Thank you.
And just FYI for the club members, at the club level, we did send a check to the campaign of Barbara Byram. And but we absolutely encourage each of you to log on to her website, which we'll email around, and click on the support button there or the donate button and continue to send some support to Barbara Byram via Act Blue. Set it up on a credit card payment, just have an automatic payment sent over to her, or send her one big check right now if you'd like.
Thank you.
Okay, Barbara, you're perfectly welcome to sit around for the mundane stuff. We got to do stuff. Stick with us.
Yeah, I'll stick around. Thank you.
I just wanted to, our treasurer can't be with us, and so I'm just going to say that as of July 31st, we still have $1,025 in the bank. And so I just wanted to let you know that. And I believe Gretchen's on, but I don't see her picture. But anyway, Gretchen, you're muted, but if you want to say anything, I'm simply going to tell everybody that we plan to distribute the minutes of these meetings. Gary's you're sending out a video of this, right, Gary, to the members?
Yes, I will.
Okay. And also, we can also send out written minutes to the members, just so everybody will know. So that constitutes the secretary's report. Okay, now Jim Carroll is going to take a little bit of time with us to talk about the Trump's payroll tax cut and other entitlement issues and anything else that he decided he wants to talk about. Go ahead, Jim.
Okay, I had to unmute myself. First of all, Barbara mentioned the number of people who don't have health coverage in Florida. And some of you may know, I'm sure she does, that in the 2020 federal budget, there is a big reduction in Medicaid funding for the states. So particularly for those who are in greatest need. So there's another reason to vote blue in October. But all of you are aware that back a couple of months ago, the Democratic House of Representatives, federal representatives, voted out a second version of the CARE program to help people overcome some of their financial problems with the economy, as well as provide local governments education with funds to help them with the problems they're having funding COVID operations, so forth and so on. The Senate elected not to, well, they put forth a budget for $1 trillion versus the House's $3 trillion one. And then the Senate putted, and the House took over negotiations with the Democrats. And that did not go anywhere. And so then Trump sent out 4 executive orders, one of which was to provide $400 of benefits to the unemployed, of which 100 of that would have to be paid by the state. That money would come from a deferral of payroll taxes, and payroll taxes are the 6.2 or so percent that is paid half by employees and half by their employers. So the first point is that money, the payroll tax, goes to pay for Social Security as well as Part A of Medicare, which is the hospitalization part. So that means that money will not be flowing, or the employee share will not be flowing into the federal coffers for supporting Social Security. In addition to that, the 2020 budget, the president's budget, has a reduction in a Medicare of about $600 billion over 10 years. So we have sort of a perfect storm of taking money to fund Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, by deferring that for about 4 months, which will end up costing about $120 to $160 million over those 4 months. So you can kind of see the impact that would have on those other programs. So a poll that I saw said that the public was angry with both Democrats and Republicans for not coming up with a solution to a second phase of the CARE program. So as Democrats, how would you go about convincing your elected officials or your friends or whoever that the Dems tried to do the job and the Republicans didn't? We as Dems, how could we get the word out that we're doing our job?
Barbara, do you, because I simply don't know the answer to that question, but do you have any comments about that, about how our message could be delivered that we tried? And when I say we, I mean Nancy and the rest of the people in the United States Congress.
That's a really tough question. I know from all my years of activism that as our parties have become more and more polarized, they've become more and more cut off to listening to ideas. The Republican conservative stance on this is that Those people who aren't faring well are just losers. They're lazy. They don't deserve this kind of money. And if we give them money, it will just encourage them to stay home and become welfare queens. I don't know that we have the right words to change their minds. This really needs to be a grassroots movement. It is happening. It is happening across the nation, but I really don't know that we're going to see any change to this until the November elections.
Okay. I see Amalia's hand. Amalia, would you like to weigh in?
Unmute yourself, Amalia.
Well, this, yes,
There
this
we go.
is,
Yeah.
Okay,
sorry,
there's
go ahead.
Amalia.
Yeah, I was just going to add to the previous information. It's my understanding that even though the payroll tax cut and all that goes forward, what they're not telling everybody, and I heard this on Democracy Now!, is that the so-called benefit is all going to have to be paid back so as to make up for the so-called benefit of no payroll tax. And I haven't heard how that's going to be done, but that's really a slap in the face again to the citizens that need the help. And the payroll tax, of course, is something Republicans have wanted to do for a long time, which is to kill Social Security. So, I mean, it's a big battle, but I know the Democrats are at the federal level really working on trying to prevent all that from happening. It's I heard that on the Tom Hartman show today or yesterday.
there are actually about two issues. One is whether or not the deferral would be forgiven after the 4 months were up. There is not a decision on whether it will be forgiven or whether it'll have to be paid back by the employees or maybe the employers, because generally the employer really covers the cost of the employee's tax. So employers may be reticent also to not pay for that. And as far as the budget, President's budget for 2020, it can be read two ways. One is that the reductions in Social Security and Medicare both are being taken out of the cost, that is the administrative costs and so forth, rather than reducing benefits. The other interpretation is it will reduce benefits. And if it doesn't do that, it most likely either way will possibly reduce the quality of care, because if they reduce cost and the medical profession decides they can't make the money they need, then they will cut care, and therefore quality of care will be reduced. So living in a senior community, and we have several senior communities, perhaps a coalition of old folks might be put together to start addressing that issue.
I was
Jim,
gonna,
I'd like to,
go ahead, Gary. I'm sorry, Wayne.
Jim, I want to thank you on providing such a knowledgeable presentation on Trump's attack on Social Security and Medicare with the payroll tax cuts. And listening to some reporters ask the Democrats to meet halfway with the Republicans, their answer was, how could you mistake Republicans for someone that gives a damn? And that's exactly true with the evictions, the unemployment, and them doing nothing about protecting our Social Security and Medicare. And that could be a strong fighting point for us as Democrats here in Oak Run, Marion County, Barbara's travels. Social Security, Medicare is a senior issue. We're in a senior community. If these Republicans are too stupid to realize that Trump is going to attack their Social Security and Medicare, some of them are not going to pay attention. But that certain percentage of Republicans that Barbara wants to reach and needs to vote for her, we need to emphasize to them, this is what your Republicans have in store for you. But a great presentation, Jim. Very knowledgeable, and I want to thank you.
Thank you.
I want to add something. We all have a voice, and I was on Barbara, Nancy Pelosi's website today. I sent her an email, and I also sent an email to Daniel Webster, who is our congressperson for the United States Congress District 11, concerning the post office. And those were the only two. I was really busy. I don't know how I'm retired. I don't know how I'm staying so busy, but I was really busy and I didn't get any more emails sent. But the point of this is, you can type any congressperson, anybody in the government's name, go to their website, and there is a place where you can send an email. And it doesn't have to be a long, lengthy email, but you can say things like, save Medicare, save Social Security, no cuts to Medicare and Social Security, anything. My email today focused on the post office because I'm so upset about the post office, but I'm also very concerned about Social Security and Medicare because I have both. And so I'm suggesting to you that you contact your congressperson, you contact your two senators. You know, it really doesn't matter. We have two Republican senators. I actually, oh God, I'm getting weekly messages from Scott now just because I sent him a message, and that's fine. I don't care. I don't as long as I get my message. They have to hear when you, and when I say here, I mean, you can also leave a voicemail, but I prefer writing. They need to read your dissension to anything that's going on. And I don't know how many seniors there are in the United States, and you know, we can only influence the people in our circle, but you have the power to write notes to them. Barbara, weigh in on this. Let us know how you feel about that. Are you still there, Barbara?
Yes.
Okay. You got any comments about the writing to the?
Am I? Okay, everybody's frozen.
Okay.
We hear you.
I hear you.
She does have spotty internet connectivity there, though. So,
That's
Barbara,
fine. So if she comes back, we can. But anyway, I don't know how any of you guys feel about that. But I've done this several times, and usually you get an acknowledgement. I mean, you know, you don't know whether that. I'm sure Nancy Pelosi's never going to see my email. One of her employees, he'll probably send me a response back. But at least it gets logged as support for an issue or opposition to an issue. And honestly, I think if enough seniors in the United States, of course, we can only know what's happening in our own little group, were to send their opposition into any of this messing around with the Social Security and Medicare, I'm sure they would listen. Anyway, that's all I want to say about that.
Hi, it's Linda.
Yeah.
I did send an email to Webster. In fact, I sent an email to all three of them based on what you sent to the outgrown Democrats about the post office. And I got a letter back from Webster. It's basically just siding with Trump. And so what did I say, Gary? I said, So what are you going to do about it is what I want to say to it. If there's a problem with it, mail-in ballots is all it's using again. So yeah, I just got to keep bugging them, but it does take time. Yeah, but I agree. It's not hard.
Okay, hang on. Here's the tact I took, because I knew specifically for Webster that, you know, he's a Republican. So what I did was I focused on the moral responsibility and the constitutional responsibility, since Hal pointed out to me how the Constitution handles this, of, you know, we have a lot of seniors who receive their medications in the mail. So when they start messing around with the Postal Service, you could cause somebody some health problems. And that's, I unfortunately, when you do one of these online emails to them, you don't get to keep a copy of it. So I can't remember everything I said, but I took that tact. And also, because he's a Republican, I threw a little business in there. I said, you do realize that there are many businesses that rely on the Postal Service for prompt delivery and receipt of business communications that go back and forth between the different companies. So I really pushed him hard, and I said it's your constitutional responsibility and your moral responsibility to do something about this. So that was the tact I took. And so if you do decide to write somebody about this, go ahead and make sure you mention the medications that a lot of seniors get through the mail. Because this is not just manipulation. This is the truth. Hal gets most of his medications through the mail. I tend to get mine through the pharmacy, but he's a veteran and he gets a lot of services from the VA. So, you know, there it is on that.
If I could throw in a comment that I thought with this election, some of the Republicans might say, yeah, we've got to turn the ship around, so to speak. And that has not happened, as we know. So I think my conclusion is we're really not going to get anywhere except to turn it around at the ballot box. I'm not sure that all the letters and emails are going to do that much good. I think they've just put up a wall that they're going to ride it out and think that they can win in the end. But
Well,
that's not a good attitude. But it does mean we really have to work to get the vote out, and we can.
Yes, we do.
We can.
we do. And I wanted to take a moment. We haven't acknowledged the fantastic thing that happened yesterday. We have our vice presidential candidate now, Kamala Harris. And I am so excited. I am so excited about her. And I love her. You know, I'm sure all of us had our favorite. I love Val Demings. I mean, I was just all in for Val because she's a Floridian and she just is so cool. And I've been on a few Zoom meetings, fundraisers where I was on one fundraiser Zoom meeting where she was the speaker. But I'm very pleased with Kamala. But the minority vote and is going to be extremely, extremely very important. And I know we have a lot of people working on that. Is it Jim Clyburn in South Carolina? Does anybody know if that's that? Is he still in office, Jim Clyburn in South Carolina?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
He is a very, very strong and effective speaker when it comes to getting out the black vote, for instance. And you know, we got problems with the Hispanics because a lot of them have Cuban heritage and they don't like something about Castro. You know, sometimes they vote Republican because they think the Republicans are more against Castro than the Democrats are. So I don't know what to do about that. But so getting out the vote is going to be key. And prior to pandemic, there's a gal by the name of Bert Perkins that she's spoken to our club before. And she's a member of the board, I believe, of the Marion County Women's Democratic Party. And she had made plans that we were going to, not just she and I, but many people were going to go to Black churches and do a lot of registering to vote. But I think that's been depressed a little bit because we can't do it in person. I mean, so recently, but I think it had to do with the Democratic Women's Club. There's a church on 200 where they did drive-by voter registration. And our former member, Mike, whose last name just went out of my head, Mike and Davis, yeah, they were there. They were roving reporters, and they sent us a video with their cell phones of these people driving through the drive-through register to vote. So I don't know if there are going to be more of those, but if there are, if I can find out from Bert Perkins about that, I'll let everybody know. And if anybody wants to go volunteer to help out, because you'll be outside and you'll have your mask on and you'll be safe.
Let me give one word of encouragement that the Trump administration attempted to change the Migratory Bird Act, which is a 100-year-old act that protects birds from just wanton destruction by corporations. Just because they're a nuisance, they can't do that. So they wanted to change that to where corporations could just about for any reason take any migratory birds and get rid of them, annihilate them. That did not succeed in the Congress because there was a large coalition of environmental and so forth organizations, as well as others, that put up a real big fuss, and so that legislation, or that attempt at changing the rule, was over or blocked. So there is power in people who gather together and organize and put forth that effort to make change, so to speak.
Okay, guys. Wayne, did you want to talk a little bit more about a potential Biden rally?
Yes. Hello, everybody. To share again, down at the Ocala Square, we had a wonderful time down there, and especially the reaction to people driving by. We had a lot of positive, a lot of beeping horns, a lot of positive reaction to our Biden signs and our American flags that we were waving. We did have a few people tried to torment some of our members that were there, especially Linda Chitwood. She was getting the brunt of a couple of truckers, but she handled it well. In reference to Putin, she was using the Putin term quite a bit and handled it quite well. But I wanted to make a suggestion to the Oak Run Democrats and throw it by the board and all the members. In front of the old Winn-Dixie, I remember last year and 2 years ago, there were some people that gathered along the grassy area, along 200, and were waving Trump flags and Trump signs. I'd like to suggest that we meet for an hour in October and do Biden signs, and also with there being a postal service in that drugstore, in that shopping center, we can also make some signs for saving and funding the United States Postal Service. And we would certainly invite Barbara Byram to be there and be with us on that day. But I wanted to throw that out to the group to consider. I know it's past 8 o'clock already, and we can do discussion on the Biden rally over at that location by email or at the next board meeting. But I wanted to throw that by and see what any members had to say about that. And one thing I wanted to point out about the postal employees, as a state employee in Pennsylvania, I was always facing privatization talks. We are the only state in the country that has union state employees manning and working in the liquor stores and doing the warehouse work. And Republicans are trying to privatize us for my whole 20 some years in with the Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board. And I know how it is to have to deal with the public and be quiet. And in talking to a couple clerks at the United States Postal Service here, they say, well, we have faith. And I said, sometimes you need a lot more than faith. You need to fight a little bit. You need to stand up. And of course, they couldn't say anything. But I like to put up a sign for them and also throw that out to all the, and the legality, if there's anything wrong by Oak Run Democrats doing this. But I did want to mention as well that Yolanda, with the president of Marion County DNC, actually made that suggestion to me for the Oak Run Democratic Club to take the initiative up here and do a Biden rally in this side of town. And in turn, we would also ask, I would also submit an email or a phone call to Dan and on Top of the World Democratic Club for assistance for that rally, and also any other Marion Democratic groups that would like to join in with us. But I will open it up to further discussion. If anybody in the group would want to talk about that, thank you very much.
Yeah, hi, Wayne.
Yes.
Linda. I didn't hear any date, or are you gonna get emails sent out saying which days are easier, which times are easier, try to get input from others, or?
Well, I think what the thinking is we should just pick out a date, and maybe 8 to 9 in the morning and 4 to 5 in the afternoon. And between the Oak Run Democratic Club, the On Top of the World Democratic Club, and other Marion County Democratic groups, we should have enough people to fill those 2 spots instead of trying to find the best day for everybody or the best time for everybody. Just select a day.
Right.
But I thought we can do that in further discussion with Gary and Linda and myself and Herman and any other members of Oak Run Democratic Club that would figure out a better day in October. But I thought October would be good to do that.
Wayne, I'll remind you, we kind of discussed maybe doing it during the rush drive home also. It would only be for an hour. The one we did in downtown Ocala was only an hour. It was a lot of fun, I can tell you that, because if there's anything that I like to do, it's disgruntle some rotten Republican and watch them get these mad looks on their face, and they just get so mad, like wet hens were thrown into the water or something. And I'm thinking, I've seen other people with their MAGA hats on and they're demonstrating and I just look at them. I don't give them a dirty look. Or there were quite a few hand gestures, in support of us, not. And it was a lot of fun. So Wayne, we will. What I suggest we probably do is we'll talk it over with the board. And once we come to we could give people a choice of what times they might want to do it. Now, if we invite On Top of the World to join us and we invite Marion Oaks to join us, we're going to have to take them into consideration too. But I think October it would be cool enough, you know, or at least not blisteringly hot, where we could do it either in the morning or we could do it in the go home traffic in the afternoon. How's that sound? Okay. Okay. All right. Anybody else want to weigh in on that subject or any other subject you want to weigh in on? Okay.
Now, let me just, there's been a little bit of chat going on. I don't know how many other people are paying attention to the chat that goes with these Zoom meetings. But there was some, and I hope nobody minds me attributing these appropriately, but Amalia said, this goes back to the mail balloting. She said federal law prohibits interference of mail with prosecution and prison. Of course, Attorney General Barr will not intervene during any time that Trump is in power. Punishment to follow after Dems take over the federal government. And Lily has been quiet, but texted this or said, post office is now treating ballots as bulk mail, which means if they can't be delivered, they'll be recycled, as in getting trashed. I don't know if anybody has anything to add to that or can confirm that. That seems rather extreme. I
heard that also. Can't remember my source.
Yeah, so Lily says it is fact, and I'm desperately hoping that it's not fact. But and then Liz Bennett said, aren't ballots first-class mail?
Oh, I just remembered something, and Barbara, Byron, if you're still here, you might be able to help us on this. Otherwise, I'll call Lavonda at the Marion County. I wondered if there's any prohibition. We have some. I talk to a lot of people on the phone who can't leave their house. You know, they are just kind of homebound, and that's why they wanted to put their ballot in the mail. So there are many, many people like that. But I was wondering if there's any prohibition in picking up someone else's and taking it down to the supervisor of elections. But Hal says it's you and a buddy. In other words, what he thinks he read was you can only take one other person's ballot down there. Does anybody have any information on that? Nope. Oh, okay, go ahead, Amalia.
Well, I don't.
Up until now, I mean, if somebody says to me, if I say I'm going to the post office and say, oh, would you take these? I don't count them. I just take them and put them in the mailbox, you know. So I think we should look into it because ballots are official. But I mean, I could be mailing somebody's check in for a bill or whatever. I just, you know, try to help.
Okay, I'll look into that. I'll look into whether it's copacetic for, you know, because we might have a lot of people in our neighborhood in Oak Run who can't get out. And if we're
Did you also say that the Democratic Party, Marion County, was going to take the ballots there, collect them?
Yeah, but they got official approval from the state.
Right. Well, that seems like a good answer for what we do. You know.
Well, if we, you know, Hal said, how would anybody know if you took 4 or 5 of our residents here in Oak Run ballots and took them down to the Marion County Democratic? I don't know how they would know.
You're not going to have to sign that you dropped it off. You just put them in.
You just take, actually, Hal and I've already done that. We took somebody's, and I can't remember whose, ballot down and put it in the supervisor of elections.
The man that came in the office that day, he filled it. I helped him fill it out, and he left it, and you were going to take it. Or Lavonda was, yeah.
Hey, we'll come visit each of you in prison, all right?
No.
We'll have a lot of company with the Republicans once the gang gets all rounded up.
Okay.
Marilyn Spalter wanted to get on here.
Okay.
Yeah. I also called the Office of Elections because I wanted to know, it was sort of like a puzzle to me. I wanted to understand how the mail-in process worked, to know whether or not if we put our ballots in a lockbox, will it then be going through the mail? So I presented that question and they said absolutely not. The whole box is taken to the Office of Elections, and they open it up there, and they have a site that every day, now I'm only talking about the general election, okay, that's the only election I was referring to when I called. They said that they open up the ballots every day. They have a running total every day, and there's a website that we could see how the numbers are running. Only I forgot to write down that website. I can get it, but I'll tell you what really concerned me. When I was looking at our mail-in ballots, on the outside of it, I don't know if you could see, okay, there's a barcode. And I noticed that there's a letter D in the barcode. So I asked the lady that I was talking to, and I said, does that letter D in the barcode designate the party? And she kind of laughed and said, well, yeah, it does. I said, well, that's kind of interesting, because I'm still thinking, I mean, we used to mail the ballots and not think twice about it. Now it's a whole nother world. We won't be mailing them. But I was concerned about the safety of those ballots with the letter D versus R. The lady told me that that is in fact what they have on there to designate the parties, because when the envelopes come in, they're sorted by party. And then they're opened up and counted, which I found to be very interesting, that the D is on the outside. She says, no one's ever noticed that before. And I said, well, I look and I noticed. And anyway, that was just kind of interesting. They gave me the dates that for the general election, we could take down only, you know, Linda, like what you said, the only at the early voting sites is where they're going to have the lock boxes. And they have a courier that comes every day, picks up the lock box and leaves a fresh one for the next day. And the date,
Good.
Yeah. The dates on that for the early voting sites to drop off our ballots is October 19th to October 30th. And I'm sure we'll be hearing more about that. But I was really concerned about the safety of just, you know, even if we took it to a lockbox, now what? Are they all going to be mailed? No, they're not. They have that box outside the elections office that they said you could drop things off 24/7. You said it was maybe limited time. The lady told me 24/7, and they have cameras facing the drop box outside the elections office. She says, but there are limited hours if you walk it into the building. So maybe those were the hours that you might have mentioned. I'm not really sure. So there's, you know.
Yeah, what I meant to say was, and I'm not sure I was clear, for the August 18th primary that's coming up.
Oh, okay.
Okay, Saturday, the 15th is the last day of early voting, and they close at, I don't know where all the early polling places for this election are, and I don't know where the drop box is located. So I assumed, because I didn't ask the lady down at the supervisor of elections office, will the drop box be picked up at 6 o'clock when that early polling place closes on Saturday and be taken away? That's why I said I thought people up until 6 p.m. on Saturday could drop it. I don't know the answer to that because I didn't ask that question.
Yeah, you were looking at the primary, and I was only asking questions about the general election. But I sure feel better knowing that it's not going to be going into the mail at all, and that we can kind of keep a running tally on how it's going daily, because they're going to be posting that daily, which is really cool.
Right, it is.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you, Marilyn. Thank you for doing that. That's very good information.
I wonder whether the D indicator on the outside of the envelope will still be there in the general election. It makes sense that that would be there for purposes of sorting all of the Democrats running against Democrats, but as soon as it's Democrats running against Republicans, I think it'd be less appropriate and less comforting to have a party indicator on the outside of the envelope.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I just couldn't figure out because, if we mailed it the way we usually do, and I was thinking, the D's go this way and the R's go in the box and ours get trashed. So I was really concerned when that, when the little light went on, I went, oh my God, look at that. There's something in the code.
I'm pretty sure that,
Okay, I'm seeing Avis. Avis Ward wanted to say something.
Avis, you'll have to unmute yourself, Avis.
No, okay. Okay.
I was just going to say,
I hit
I'm
the
pretty
wrong
sure
button.
that our mail lady who delivers
You got it
mail to
so loud.
us, she sees all of the Biden for
You got it
president
so
mail that
loud.
arrives at our
It just
address.
comes right through out there.
And, the stuff from Chuck Schumer and all the rest of it, I'm sure our mail person knows without us putting a letter on the outside of our envelope, she knows what kind of mail we get.
Right.
And so we have to trust our mail delivery people as well.
Okay, I saw two hands. I saw Jim,
I
Carol,
don't know
and
how to get out of it. Just on the screen.
whoever.
Am I up? Am I up?
Go ahead, Jim.
Who's next?
You, Jim.
Oh, depending on whether they can get the people to do it, but both parties have the right to have people working at the polls as well as observing at the Supervisor of Elections office, all the way from the voting to the closing of the poll, and actually the transportation of the ballots to the supervisor's office. So there is a trail to assure that things are not being dropped along the side of the road or whatever it might be. But that all depends on whether or not the parties can get enough poll workers to do those functions. But there are safeguards. Whether or not they're observed or not is another thing.
Okay, Liz Bennett, did you have a comment you wanted to make?
Yes. One piece of data that's been reported is the number of mail-in ballots that are coming in from Democrats and Republicans. So that identification letter there is probably how they accumulate that information.
I imagine that's true. Okay, I want to share something. Lily Fruit, who's online with us, but we can't see her, but I believe she's on the telephone. She wrote that votemarion.gov can give the information we were looking for. I can't remember now whether your vote was received, or I forgot what the specific question was, but you can go to votemarion.gov and get practically the answer to anything. You can also call the Supervisor of Elections office at 352-620-3290. Or I just wanted to let you know that.
Yeah, we have been to the votemarion.gov. Linda and I have verified that our ballots have been received.
Yeah, Hal's and my ballots for the August 18th election have already been received also. Okay, Jim Carroll.
Regarding the Democrat-Republican designations on the ballots, if you've ever, say, been at the DEC office on election day, they will be monitoring that number continuously, and they will be reacting dependent on what the numbers look like to, okay, we got to get some people out to such and such church to get them to vote, and so forth and so on. So there are some benefits to both parties, you could say, to know if they need to put the pedal to the metal, so to speak. So it's a two-way kind of street.
Okay, All right, I see Marilyn.
Yeah, something else. When I was talking to the lady, I asked her if there's a chance of having a speaker from her office come out to us. And they said they have speakers go out all the time. All they need is an invite. So that might be very interesting.
Well, Wesley Wilcox is set to speak to us. Herman, can you hear me? Would you mind unmuting yourself and let us know again when Wesley is coming? He's the supervisor of elections.
I didn't hear. I'm sorry, Linda.
Wesley Wilcox, the supervisor of elections, is coming. Herman, can you unmute yourself?
Oh, he's coming?
He is.
Herman, unmute yourself. Herman, unmute yourself. If you can, press the space bar on your computer.
I don't know.
There you go.
Okay, he's.
No, press and hold the space bar. Now say
Okay. Yeah, I spoke to Wesley about a week and a half ago, just to reconfirm that he was coming out to speak to us. And he looked on his calendar and said, yeah, I have it written in my book. His associate had put it in there, so he will be here to see us. I think it's the 9th, I'm not sure.
September.
It is September, but I'm not sure of the actual day.
Be the 10th.
Is it the 10th? Okay.
The 10th?
Yes, 10th of September is the second Thursday.
Okay. All right. So,
September 10th.
okay, great. Okay, so Gary, you'll, I don't know if Wesley's email is publicized on his website, but anyway, we'll have to get you.
I have his email address. So I'll make sure he's connected.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, unless we have any further comments, Wayne, did you have anything else you wanted to add? Are you frozen, Wayne? I think Wayne is frozen. Okay. Anybody else? All right, guys. Well, I want to thank Barbara Byram again for coming to speak with us. I'm just so pleased and so glad you're running, Barbara, and wishing you all the luck. And of course, I'm hoping a few bucks come your way. I know some's coming from our club already, and maybe you'll get some more.
Thank
That's
you.
about it for me, guys.
Thank you for having me.
You're quite welcome.
Bye, everybody. Watch for an email from me with a recording of tonight's meeting and share it with your friends who couldn't join us.